Hello. Hello. Oh my goodness. Sometimes you get everything set up and you think it's right, and then other times you get everything set up and it is not right and it doesn't work good. And we do what we can. It's what you all have gotten used to expecting on this show and or podcast or however you consume Prep Talk Live. Welcome in everybody. It's episode, we're gonna call it 85 because it's just what we do. I'm Casey with Cascadia Dispatch, and not joining me this evening is going to be Tup, the Urban Prepper. I would normally talk to him, but he's not here. And I don't think Sutton's Days and Sustainable Prepping are going to be joining us either. I think I'm flying solo. We had a bit of a last week was kind of a last minute change. We had some medical stuff happening in our family, and so I had to bow out, and everybody else had stuff. And then this week we kind of moved everything, and Tup is stuck in traffic on I-5, so he might be watching remotely. I don't know. And I'm not sure if the links worked or whatever. But yeah, so I'm flying solo, and then I know we're headed into spring break for our family next week. I don't know if Tup, I think they maybe already did spring break. You sound far away. Well, you know what? That might be true. Let's see if I can adjust the microphone here a little bit. Is that better? I'm hoping that that's better. I tried to adjust the table settings here a little bit, so it may have moved the microphone away. So hopefully that's better. Bernie is the one who said that I sound far away. So Bernie, do I sound better now? You're gonna throw out constructive criticism and then not respond back and let me know if it's any better. Well, I'm hoping. Anyone in the chat room, if you guys can tell me if it sounds better, that'd be great. So I'm not sure if we're gonna do a stream next week or not. Okay, so we have a difference of opinion. Bernie says that it doesn't really sound any better, and Pigs Fly says it does sound better. Maybe if I do this sort of a thing. Sorry, it sounds like it's not picking up the boom mic. I wonder what mic it's picking up. Well, let's hold on. Okay, now everyone says that it's not good. Okay, well, we don't want there to be bad. Let's see. Let's see. That's that input. We'll just have a quick second here to make sure. Oh, it's picking up. That's true. It's picking up the very wrong microphone. I don't know why it's picking up that one. Let's see. I want the microphone. I think it's that one. Oh, maybe that one. Yep, I think it's that one. All right. Does that sound better? That sounds better when you turned your head. Yeah, and for some reason I have a second camera over here, and for some reason when I went to start the stream, it was not picking up my first camera or anything else. It was using the second camera, and it has a microphone, so I think that's what it was picking up. So I shifted it all around. Okay, everyone is agreeing I sound much better. Again, like the expectation of this show, it just is, the bar is so low. Anyway, so for those of you who didn't hear the first time, welcome to Prep Talk Live episode 85. I'm flying solo. Tup, the Urban Prepper, is stuck in traffic. And Sutton's Days and Sustainable Prepping may join us. They may not. I don't know. I sent everybody the link, but it was from last week, and so I don't know if everybody saw it or thought there was maybe a new link. But I wanted to jump on because we didn't have a show last week. We had, as I said, a little bit of a medical family schedule change, and so I wasn't able to jump on. And then this week we're kind of jumping on, but everybody's schedules are a little weird with spring break, and then next week we have it. Bernie, if you want to jump on, I don't have your contact information. I have your Instagram, but I don't have your email. So if you want to jump on, I would be more than happy to send you the link and you could jump on with me. But you just got to give me everyone wants to see Bernie. I just need Bernie, send me your email, send an email to info@cascadiadispatch.com, and then I can check it and I'll send you the link real fast, and we'll get you in here. But yeah, so that's what's going on. So I figured we had talked in the last episode about a couple of things. We talked about medical kits, and we talked about kind of different types of medical kits and that sort of thing. And then we'd also talked about prepping school classes. And I feel like prepping school classes, we need the whole gang here to talk about that. So we're going to postpone that. We're going to wait on that one. Also, I have been a horrible social media content creator and haven't put up anything asking anybody about that. So I'm going to try to get some posts up this week. Like I said, next week we have spring break, so that might be a perfect time to do that. But we will do that. But tonight I was just going to go through. There's Bernie's email. Look, this is, you never know what's going to happen with the live stream. It just sometimes people are going to hop on. We got all kinds of things going on. But in the meantime, I got a couple of my bags of my medical kits, as I have said numerous times, and will continue to say, I'm not a medical professional. I'm not a paramedic. I'm not a doctor. I'm like just a guy who like watches YouTube videos and does research and that sort of thing. But I have no actual medical training. But I was going to show you guys kind of some of the setups and the options I have, mostly just in how it's organized, not necessarily the individual items. There's lots of different checklists and things, but just kind of the items that I have in the different kits, and mostly the way that I have them organized. And then hopefully maybe next week Tup will have some of his. I know he has some ways that he organizes stuff that is really handy. I would love to know how, like for Sutton's days, because she always has really cool ideas of how she has hers done. And if she makes her own, or if she has pre-made first aid kits, because first aid kits are one of those things too, I think, where even if you don't have like a pre-made, you kind of get the pre-made survival kits. Kind of that's like step one of emergency preparedness is, oh my goodness, I need a kit. Oh, here comes Bernie. All right, we got Bernie joining us for I think for the first time on Prep Talk Live. You've been on Prep's live streams all the time, but the first time on Prep Talk Live, the Apex Predator. Can you tell that I was playing Heads Up WWE Edition with my son earlier today? That's where we're at.
Oh goodness.
The Apex Prepper, Bernie, also joins us in the Oregon, Northwest Oregon, Portland area prepping community.
What beautiful weather we've had.
I know.
It's been great.
It's been fantastic. It's been like, for those of you who don't know, usually in Oregon, it rains and it's cold, and then there's summer. And we have this thing called fake spring. And it usually always happens, and it's for like a week randomly in between like snow and ice storms and everything else. It'll be like 70 degrees for no particular reason. And we had that like last week and kind of today. I think it was like 65 or something. But yeah, it's been amazing. So everybody's been out washing their cars, doing yard work, all these sorts of things, because it's as if it's summer, but like it's gonna rain for the next like month and a half now.
Yeah, unfortunately it's just one of those things, but I mean, I'll take what we can get. Unfortunately, I have done very little prepping lately. Feel like I'm just kind of getting back into it, so this is kind of perfect. So
it seems to be a theme. Like it goes in waves. Like you get like really into prepping projects, and then like life happens, and then you get onto other stuff, and you realize, oh, it's been like 2 months since I did anything to check like any of my preparedness stuff, any of my organizational projects, any of that sort of thing.
Yeah, kid sports has been killing my prepping as of late. So yeah, I I hear you.
Yeah, kids sports. This is the first year that or the first season that we've had both kids in a sport with different schedules. And it is a whole different. We have lots of friends that have like kids that play soccer and they're like soccer practices all the time and games all.
Yep.
We have not had that. We usually had them all like they had practices at the same time, or only one kid was in a sport at a time.
Yep.
And oh my goodness, having two kids in two different or two sports at different times, it's a whole different. It's like the whole week is just shot.
Yeah. No, I barely have time, for myself really to do anything fun like prepping.
You don't
So
have any self-care time, Bernie.
no,
It's
I don't.
just there's no time for you. There's no you
Can you tell?
time.
I didn't even shave for the
You know,
prep
that's
talk.
that's part of the thing. We're gonna talk to Sutton's Days about joint like in the uniform. It's not, but
Uh, hey, so yeah, let's. I don't want to. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to deviate from your plan on your
Bernie, you've been here
topic for
long enough.
today.
We have very little plan. Like the plan is to be here. I was like, okay.
That's fair.
All right, but I'm just looking at the chat. So so Nest Prepper's talking about the pre-made kits. The 3,872 band-aids really useful items. I prefer my own. Yeah, I think all of us, there is like this progression that happens when you start a preparedness journey. And it's like something happens that scares the bejesus out of you. And then you're like, oh my goodness, I realize I need to not be scared. And you go out and try to find stuff to make yourself feel not as scared and a little more prepared. And the first thing everybody gets oftentimes is like a pre-made 72-hour kit or an earthquake bag or a survival kit or something, because they just feel like, oh, the experts that made this, we assume are experts and must know what they're doing. And on the
Yeah.
surface, like, yes, technically all the things in the bags usually like are okay.
Right.
But I think you very quickly do research, start to think about what you really want, what you're actually trying to prepare for and everything else, and realize very quickly that whatever was in that kit is not nearly what you would actually want to have or use. And then it becomes this period of, okay, I'm going to try to find the stuff that I want, and I'm going to try to make my own kit and upgrade everything and do it that way. And that is kind of a churning process of like trying different things and testing different variations of things.
Yep.
And then you kind of get to a spot where you're like, okay, I feel like this is my kit. But you're always trying to do more stuff with it. Like it's never finished, but it gets to this
Nope.
kind of like, okay, I've got it 85 or 90% there. And then I'm continually like refining and adding stuff.
Until you learn something new, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, wait a minute, I don't have that. So
I don't have
now
one of those.
now it's another rabbit hole of things of what to do. So Casey, I got a question for you. What was your moment?
7. The answer is 7.
Seven.
Oh, I think.
Okay. What was your moment?
Yeah. So my moment, I've talked about it a few times on here before, is I was driving up to Seattle. I was I'm a marketing consultant. And I was driving up to Seattle to meet with a client, and at the time I was driving up there once a week for meetings. And I got up there, and my brother sent me an article that was in the New York Times about the Cascadia subduction zone earthquake, and that was going to be the real big one. And I'm a marketing data consultant, and so the data and the math and the pattern makes sense. And as I read the article, I was like, oh my goodness, this is likely going to happen. And I realized like I didn't camp, we didn't do any of that sort of stuff. So whereas even people who then have that realization, maybe they enjoy camping and they're like, oh, but we have some of this stuff already. We don't, we aren't starting from scratch. We had no tent, we had no sleeping bags, we had no dried food, we had none of those things. And I sent it to my wife, and she also read it, and she also had the same reaction. And I realized that if something were to happen while I was up in Seattle, like I would be walking from Seattle back to Portland, and all the bridges would be out and everything else. It would be a while for that to happen. And my
Yeah.
family would be there by themselves and have nothing to protect them or keep them safe or anything like that. And so it very quickly became, I need to make sure that if something happens, they're okay. And then if something happens and I'm out of town, like I can get back. And how does all of that work? And then as I was doing all of those things, everyone who knew me before that moment thought I was having some sort of a nervous breakdown because they had never seen me do anything like this ever before.
Oh.
And as I was then explaining it to them, then they would be like, oh, I didn't realize that. Or, oh, okay, since you're doing it, I should probably think about that too. And that's why I started the blog that then turned into the YouTube channel and everything else. Was I started to get so many people asking me questions that it became a lot easier for me to just write it down or make a video and then point people to that spot than it was to just continually answer the same question or be like, oh, here are the 10 things that you need. Like, okay, here's a list, as opposed to, okay, can you write it down and send a text message and that sort of thing. So that was how about yours?
Mine was an evolution of, I had a coworker who had their house broken into, had um or let me actually rephrase that. It was their neighbor's house that got broken into. He went to go check on the neighbor, and whenever he went and opened the door, that he got greeted with a shotgun to the face and
Oh,
got pulled into the place and got hog tied up
mm-hmm,
and yeah, he was able to get out of the hog tie, and he was like not going to give up type of thing. But not only did that story kind of like inspire, like, wow, this is like crazy. Problem was is that it just happened a couple of miles away from my house, and I'm thinking, my neighborhood is pretty good, but there's no guarantees.
yeah,
And so I started looking into. I grew up around firearms, but I didn't have any at the time. So I was like, well, I'm gonna get firearms. Well, family member in the military, they're like, that's great, but since you're going down that road, what about all this other stuff that you should be thinking about too? Such as first aid,
mm-hmm,
such as, just basically getting into preparedness. It's like I'm only thinking about this one little incident and only preparing for that one thing. But what about all this other stuff? And then I got exposed to, okay, well, there's, man-made, there's local disasters, right?
yeah,
Whether it be man-made or natural, right? But then there's, it just escalates from there. It can be regional, it can be statewide, it can be, you know, uh, s- the full western half of the United States. It could be a whole national incident. So I think that's really kind of that turning point for me when
yeah.
all
Did
of
you
that happened.
have, so you mentioned, so firearms is one of the
Hmm.
things we don't talk about that a whole lot because
Right.
the algorithms don't really love that.
Nope.
But it's also important. And so we're gonna talk about it in a very abstract way.
Sounds good.
But what is interesting is, so I also had a couple of people. My brother-in-law is an avid hunter, firearms person, loves to go camping. We used to, when we got married, um, when I got married to my wife, not to my
Thanks for
brother-in-law.
clarifying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. There was a long-standing joke about um,
Who'd you
Uncle
really
Grizz
marry?
and Uncle Geek.
Yeah.
I think it was Uncle Grizz and Uncle Geek. He was more grizzly, and I was the geek, and it was like that's totally fine. Yeah, I get it. Now we have flipped a little bit. I still don't go hunting, but I feel like there has been a change. But I have a friend, my friend Cameron, who actually I've talked about doing a podcast. Because when we were in Seattle, one of the trips we were in Seattle,
Mhm.
somebody broke into our car, and as we were approaching the car to see what was going on, there was someone else in the parking garage. And that person
Mm.
actually thought we were the ones that were breaking into the car, even though it was our car. And as he approached to see what we were doing, I realized very quickly that he had a concealed fire, and he thought that we were breaking into the car and was ready to kind of stop that whole thing.
Right.
And we had to convince him as I opened the trunk and my little kids were in the back seat smiling at this man who was, luckily he recognized what was going on and didn't. But I
Right.
realized that if that had not been the case, like there was nothing that I had in that car that could have helped in any way, shape, or form. Um, and I went to my friend Cameron, who is now a firearms, and I think he's an NRA instructor and practices jujitsu, and he's all about that sort of stuff. And went to him, and he had been, giving me a hard time about the preparedness thing for a really long time. And I was like,
Mm.
dude, you just talk about it and you figure it out, and then you let me know, and now I make it look good. I'm like, get in the right colors and the right sizes and all the things. But you're the one that actually figured out what the things were. But he's the guy that I went to. I said, okay, what do I need to know about this? What do I need to get? What
Mhm.
classes do I need to take? All that sort of stuff. Um, and so it's kind of started this. I'll also say, in case my brother watches this, he also is the one who had like the emergency kits at his house before I did, and sent me the article as a joke. And now he's like, wait a minute, I was the one who started this whole thing. And I was like, again, you started it, and now I just
Yep.
make it look really good.
The spark
Um,
has been lit.
we
Yep.
have gone over the top. Um, but I think finding those people who are experts in that area
Mhm.
to kind of help you be like, because it was then, and then it was like, oh, farming. And so I started watching homesteading videos, which is where I like met, saw Sutton's Days or Tup for the first time of like, okay, I need to know more about these different things. And then it was
Right.
ham radio, and then it was food preservation. And like, I feel like you kind of, as you're going through the journey, there's a new thing that'll come up, and then that's a whole nother rabbit hole that you can kind of go down as
Yep.
you're doing it. Um, did you find that there were more people than that one friend who were in the kind of "I told you so" camp, if you want to call it that, of the like, "Hey, you should have totally been doing this, but thanks for catching up to the class," and now you're kind of like, "Well, wait a minute, now I actually like do this way more."
What's funny about that situation is when I started that journey, right? It happened really fast, and it got to the point to where I would start talking to my parents, and they we went camping, right? They had guns,
Mhm.
like I said, but they didn't really consider it preparing or preparedness. It was just kind of back then it was a way of life, right?
Yeah.
Where uh, they had mentioned like, yeah, now it's not so much, and you know if we just need anything, we can just go down the store and get it. Not that big of a deal, right?
Right.
But then whenever I went on this journey, then that changed actually quite a bit to where their wheels started turning. And
Yeah.
then other family members were like, "Oh yeah, well, maybe we should meet someplace, or if something were to happen big in the area, earthquake,
Yeah.
let's stick with that earthquake.
Yeah.
So where are we going to meet? How are we going to get there? How do we know that once we get there, that area is going to be safe? Or what if we move from that area?" And so we came up, with communication type of uh, symbols, to let them know, like, hey, yeah, we're here, or we moved on to plan C, D, E, or whatever, or
Yeah.
rally point, whatever rally point. But going back to the question, yeah, originally it was just mostly me with the guidance of my cousin uh who was a marine, and we just got to talking, right? And through conversation, you just it snowballs,
Yeah.
and then yeah, other family members got involved, and then friends got involved, and it just grew. And I wasn't the expert by any stretch of the imagination, but I knew enough to get into trouble,
Yeah.
right? So then it got to the point to where, okay, well, maybe I'm a little bit better than just knowing what to get into trouble. Um, but then, it's one of those things too where if you don't use it or practice it, you lose it. It's just
Yeah.
like firearms, like, medical skills, and I've been away for a while, or what I feel is a while. And now I'm like, oh yeah, uh, that thought process has dwindled. And coming back here today, fortunately there's no sports today. My kids don't have sports, and I'm like, I have
Yeah.
time to come to the podcast, or
Yeah.
to the live stream. So this is, great. And then but just by knowing that I'm going to be, at least coming here to listen to you,
Yeah.
and what we thought would be tough, I was like, okay, your mind starts to get into that gear again. And I think that's important,
Yeah.
to revisit. And I'm hoping that others, like, maybe, they did do prepping, um and then got out of it, or they were like, well, I kind of prep, because I've got camping gear, like you said.
Yeah.
But at the same time, this world that we live in, it's, I'm fine, but then when you start thinking about it and start processing, your own processes, and, well, what would I do if this happened? Ooh, do my kids know that if there's a fire in the place, we need to meet down the street? Have we talked about that recently? Have we practiced it? Have we? So again, like, the processes start moving again, and you're like, I'm a little bit behind, and I need to catch back up. So I'm
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, you're here. You're here. Also, lots of other people here in the chat. Lori's
Yeah.
here. She was joining us. Pigs Fly, Pony Girl,
Hi,
Chuck,
Pony Girl. She always
all
says
of
hi
the.
to me.
She did. She said hi to you earlier. Yeah,
I
she
know,
was.
but I feel bad I didn't get to say hi. So hi, Pony Girl.
Yeah, yeah. She, it was the whole crew. Yeah, I think the
Pig
other thing
fly.
of the getting behind is an
Yeah.
interesting. It's an interesting thing too, and I'm seeing it in a lot of different areas of my life at the moment. Of um you know I think an example, like, once you don't know what you don't know, and then once you
Hmm.
do know what you don't know, all of a sudden you feel like you're behind, even though you are way ahead of everyone else because you had
That's
to
fair. Yeah.
get there. And I think we've been seeing it with my son. Like, we do a lot of like financial education stuff with our kids and everything else. And at the beginning it was like overwhelming to them. And now, like, he was asking me the other day, how medical insurance works, and
Mm,
worried that, like, he how would he be able to afford a mortgage, on a house. And
mm.
it's like, on the one hand, like, he's thinking of it with kid money. He's not fully seeing how all of that would work, and budgets and all of that. Um,
How
but
old is he?
oh, he's 14.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Uh,
Um,
I'm not gonna lie. That's impressive. You know what my 15-year-old is doing right now?
what? Yeah. Oh, he's doing it too. He
Oh,
was been on Apex all day. Um, but what's funny is that, so my parents had a similar thing with me, where they would tell me things, and then I would have, moments where I was like, oh my goodness, I don't know how I'm gonna, like, what the future looks like. And it's this thing of feeling like you're behind, even though, because you know about the things, but you don't necessarily know all the things. And I
right.
was like, buddy, the whole point is for you to just be aware. So when when it presents itself, and I feel
Yeah.
like, similarly, in like projects I work on at, I projects I get at work for clients, where I'll feel like I'm way behind in the knowledge that I have on a project. I've been doing it for 20 years. I'm way ahead of most people who are looking at it, but there are a few new things that, like, I don't know, because I'm working on stuff now. And so I'll be like,
Hmm.
oh my goodness, I'm so far behind. And then I'll get put on a project, and there'll be 20 people who have no idea where to even start. And it's like, oh yeah,
Right.
I've done that 30 times.
Yep.
Um, and I feel like it's the same thing with this, where it's like, there's a list of projects that I want to work on, and there's all different kinds of things that I'm like, oh my goodness, I am so far behind.
Yep.
But then you look around and you're like, oh, but wait a minute. I actually have, like, emergency kits in all the cars. We have food, we have water, we have spreadsheets, we have calendars, we have schedules, we have all, like, okay, we from where we were, we have made leaps and bounds. And compared to most of the people that we know, like, we are probably in an okay spot. It's just
Yeah.
not, we continue to raise the bar on ourselves, I think, is maybe how
Yeah.
to look at it.
Well, I did digress. And the reason why but here's the
That's
reason why
okay.
I know that.
Yeah.
Because, you talk about like, you know, our go bags or 72-hour bags
Yeah.
or our medical kits. Well, I've gone and unpacked all of them because I was like, I'm going to revisit this later and I'm going to
Yep.
repack everything. And then, it's like, well, do I really need this gadget? Right? Like,
Yeah.
this is weight, but is it necessary? Right? And so I've been
Always
going,
keep the gadgets.
right. Well,
Always keep the gadgets, especially if they
I
have
know,
buttons. If they have buttons, you get
I
two of them and
know,
you put them in. Yeah, no,
I know,
100%.
but I haven't. So here's my problem though. I haven't repacked them, right? And so
Yeah,
since I haven't repacked them, they have become useless,
yeah,
right? And so that's where I'm like, I need to revisit this because it's become I've put myself in a situation where if something were to happen, I'm not really ready. I may have all the stuff,
yeah.
but I'm not really ready. So
Yeah.
yeah.
No, and I feel that way too about like when we go around, like with the medical kit stuff. Like when we're around in the city, like we have one set of medical kits that we take with us. When we're going on a trip, like I put a whole different set of things together.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
we have go bags in our or evacuation bags in our garage so that they're easy to go if we need them, and they have a lot of stuff in them, but I haven't actually spent time organizing them. I'm like, oh, I got these things they need to go in our kits. Okay, throw it in. I'll organize them later. So I feel
Mhm.
like similarly, where, I don't know that we have everything, but I feel like it's close. And, you need like a couple of days to really dedicate to it. Or like a reason, like you're going on a trip or something like that.
Yeah. Yep.
Um, but 100%. Yeah, it's really easy to just kind of take your kit and pull it apart and be like, oh, I'm going to fix this. And then it just sits on your workbench for 8 weeks or something. And you're
Yeah.
like, if I need it. Um, but I would guess you probably have multiple kits. So if you pull a kit or
Well,
two apart,
I've got multiple bags, but
you
they're
can never have
empty
too many
right
bags.
now.
You can never
That's the
have too
thing.
many bags. Never too many bags.
And shoes. Sweetie, let me tell you something.
Yes. The best thing that happened last week, speaking of preparedness, the best thing that happened last week is we're going on a trip in a few weeks. We're going to Disneyland.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, we're very excited taking the kids. It's gonna be super fun.
Hey,
Um,
real
yeah.
quick on that, not to nerd out or anything.
No, please do.
Sorry. The Galaxy's Edge
Yep.
in California
Yep.
is better than Florida. I've been to both.
Yeah.
Florida screwed some things up where California did it right.
Okay.
So just to give you
Well,
that.
I am very excited because we did Florida a couple years ago, and that was
Yep.
the first time we did Galaxy's Edge, and then we're gonna
Oh,
do it in Cal. So I
you
will
will see what was missed.
compare,
Yeah.
and I will definitely we'll have that be one of the podcasts. It's just the maybe it'll
Okay.
be live from Galaxy's Edge. Prep Talk live from Galaxy's Edge.
Oh, I don't have them here with me, but one thing that I did right was
Mm-hmm.
I got uh Shadow Mall's saber,
Uh-huh.
but I got one half was Shadow Mall, which I got from California, and then
Yeah.
Darth Maul's I got in Florida, so they go together.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, so I got each half from different places.
Okay, that's very cool. I like that
So,
very much.
yeah, again, sorry for all the
Yeah.
nerding out.
No, that's okay. I'm looking at we did when we were there, we built our own lightsabers. And so I have mine on the underneath the TV in my office. I have mine and my wife's, and then the kids are in their offices
Yeah.
as well. Uh, but but yeah, so we're going, and normally like we bring bags, and we always bring the bags that I have for our emergency kits because I have a variety of different sizes and shapes and they work really easily. And my wife came home the other day and she was like, "So I got bags for Disneyland." And I'm like, "What do you mean you got bags for Disneyland? We have bags for Disneyland. You're on me all the time about when I'm going to sell some of the extra bags because we have too many bags. What do you mean you got bags?" And she got these great Portland gear bags and they're rain and waterproof and all of these I was like, I love a good bag. I'm not going to say anything. I just want to be clear that I didn't buy new bags. You bought new bags.
What's
And
funny is my wife did the same thing. She did it. But guess
I'm
who
like,
ended up wearing the bag most the time
oh
anyway?
yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of
So,
the things I miss about having a stroller when we went with little kids,
oh,
because you
yes.
can put the bag in the stroller and make the kids walk, and that was
Everything. Oh,
fantastic. Now
yep.
they're too old, and we don't want to schlep a stroller. But anyway, so okay, so what I want to do is
Yeah.
I'm just gonna real quick because we're I don't know 40 minutes or whatever. Anyway,
Holy cow.
um,
Okay.
yeah, so I'm gonna just give an idea of this stuff. I think the other thing too,
Mhm.
questions I have to the audience, to the people in the chat and everything else. So we're kind of the show is morphing. It is evolving a little bit. It used to be just me and Tup. And I think we will continue to have just me and Tup shows because I think that's great. And I love the talks that me and Tup have and all that sort of stuff. I think it's been great adding in Sutton's Days and sustainable prepping. I think that's been great. I think Bernie, you joining has been great. So having kind of rotating co-hosts or guests or whatever, I think is really, really good. But I've also been thinking about doing those kind of like special subject matter expert type
Mm,
guests. So if there
absolutely.
are areas that you guys would like to maybe have me try to find somebody, my friend Cameron's been bugging me. He wants to come on and talk about self-defense type stuff, family defense, home defense, some of that sort of stuff, in a very YouTube appropriate way. I know he would like to talk in a very un-YouTube appropriate way, but I would like our channel to still exist. So I have a conversation with him about that. We may record that one and actually do. So I have him. We're gonna figure out when he can come on and do kind of a defense-ish type podcast.
Gotcha.
Um, my other friend Teddy, who wants to start, he's starting the financial kind of a financial podcast, which is something that I really love. So we're going to kind
Mm,
of start like soft launch his podcast by doing one with me, and doing like a financial prepping thing, which I enjoy the small business aspect of it and all the other stuff. Like it's a thing I really enjoy. And I know Tup doesn't enjoy
mhm.
necessarily talking about that sort of stuff. So I think that's a good one for me to kind of take solo and do it that way. But if there are other areas of interest,
I can think of one right now.
what is it?
Comms.
Comms.
Like
Okay.
everything from ham radio to, was it
Mm-hmm.
the GMSR to, I mean,
Yep.
just common knowledge of ways of communicating.
Okay.
I think that would be really helpful.
I like
Um,
that. I have a ham
yeah.
radio. It is hooked up and everything. I never use it
w-
because I can't necessarily always get it to work right. So I would love to
Well,
have that comms
and I
person
think
come
that's
in
part of the
and help me fix it.
yeah. Well, I think that's part of the thing too, right? It's like not only like maybe I don't know how to use it, but there's no incentive, but
Yeah.
because I don't know, right?
Yeah.
But if somebody gives me some of the basics, like a quick rundown of like, hey, this button does this. Do not touch this button. Let's program these buttons for you right now so it will do this, this, and this. And then, and go from there. Because I think that, part of the reason why I don't really even consider like I have was it the Baofeng
Yeah.
radio, and it just like you said, it just sits around doing nothing because I haven't done anything with it. Maybe if
Yeah.
I do something with it, then oh, I'll have a purpose for it. And right now, it doesn't have a purpose other than just, well, it's a way to communicate,
Yeah.
and
In
maybe
case
I'll
of
run into somebody that does know how to use it.
and it looks really cool when it's like searching the bands and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
um
but
yeah, I have a couple the Baofangs and all that sort of stuff. Then we've got also the Garmin satellite GPSs that where you can actually send text messages and email over the satellite GPS. So like those, but I
Yep.
think having somebody, a comms person, I think that would be a great one.
And
Um,
Chuck has a good point about belonging to a local club,
yeah.
local ham club, but the caveat to that though is the time, right?
Hmm.
Being able to take the time to go to those clubs and being a part of them, and integrate into them, which
Yeah.
unfortunately, with you got two kids that are in sports and we got other life, work and whatnot, it's a little bit more complicated. If I didn't have like one or two of those things, totally would be doable. Like
Yeah.
whenever I did my certification for Beaverton,
Yeah.
um I only had one kid at the time. I didn't have two. So it was, things were a little bit easier. Well, now that I got two, it's like I don't even have time to go to any of the cert meetings anymore.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I feel the
um,
same way.
yeah.
I'm also a Beaverton cert member. So
Oh,
I feel your
nice.
pain because I get the
Yeah,
little emails and everything else.
yeah.
They actually
What co-
have a
which color are you? Are you blue?
I'm green.
I think I'm teal.
I don't know. I get emails from them
Yeah,
being like, "Hey, we want to like." Hey, I'm like, I would love to, but I do not have the time.
yeah,
Um,
same.
but they actually had a they call it the Get on the Air class.
Yeah.
And it was I already had gotten my ham license.
Oh,
Not
nice.
because I necessarily learned the things in advance. I'm just really good at with multiple choice questions. If you give me the questions and the answers and I can
Yep,
run through it in my head a couple of times, I can
yep.
mostly remember what I need it
Well,
to be.
and a lot of
Um,
it is deductive reasoning, right? Like,
yeah,
oh, well,
exactly.
I know it's not these two answers.
Yep.
This answer is suspect. So, and this one just sounds right.
Exactly. Yeah. And
Yeah.
so I got my license and I was like, but I have these radios and they won't work. And so I used the class to kind of figure out how to do it and that there's just happens to be there's some setting on this radio where the Beaverton cert does a net every week or
Yeah.
something. And I can pick up the transmission, but for whatever reason, I can't actually send anything to them to like let them like to actually interact and talk. So I
Right.
keep trying to either like reset my radio or do something. Um, but yeah, I agree. There's I think the difficult thing as a person who is doing preparedness, there are so many different skills that you want to learn, and there
Hmm.
are clubs and courses and all kinds of things to try to nurture and maintain those skills. But if you're in a club, like that takes up a lot of your time, and that may not be the only skill that you want to like
Right.
being in a cooking club and a comms club and a firearms club and and taking jujitsu and all like there's only so much time to really so you've kind of got to rotate through them or figure out a way to at a kind of a surface level stay active but you
Yep.
know do a little bit of everything.
Yep.
Also apparently you have to eat and sleep in there somewhere. It's what I've
What?
been told. It's what I've been told.
That's
It's what I've
ridiculous.
been
Hold
told.
on. Hold
Yeah.
on. You're talking crazy talk now.
It wouldn't be the first time
Yeah.
that is the case. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
So yeah, but I definitely would recommend to everybody, uh, you know, go get look into your ham radio class. I think that would be great. But
Mm.
I will try to find somebody who could come on and talk to the difference, especially with some of the
Yeah.
differences, like in the GMRS or GSMR or whatever that
Something like
acronym is.
that. Yeah.
It starts with a G.
Yep.
There were changes in the way that radio's frequency levels changed or something, and so
Hmm.
now like there are just different rules on how to use it, and it also has a different power threshold. You can reach more people with it if you were using it, stuff like that. Um, so definitely more things to consider, um, but yeah, definitely look into those sorts of classes.
Agreed.
So yeah, all right,
So
okay, so we'll look into
back
that.
to your medical.
All
Yeah.
right, so we'll do the medical kit things. Okay,
Yeah.
so the first one is so this is the type of kit size that we keep in the cars, and I usually will keep in a bag with us if we're kind of going around town for more than a couple of hours. Obviously, like you're going to the grocery store, whatever. I'm not worrying about a medical kit if we're going a few blocks, but like if we're going downtown for the day and I've got a bigger, a bigger bag with me, or if we're going somewhere with a car, usually in the car, I'll have two of these. One of them will have like bandages and band-aids and that sort of stuff in it, and the other one will have medications. So it'll have
Okay.
Advil and Tylenol and Benadryl and all the stuff that our family would use. If I'm only gonna have one of these, then usually it's like, yeah, see, yeah, they're very handy. This is the Maxpedition version. I just love Maxpedition pouches. We've talked about pouch shaming and the names that they have for these. But this is their FR1 pouch. And it's designed for kind of medical and stuff. And it's cool because it opens, it's got all the molly web and everything, but it fully opens like a clamshell. So
Yep,
it's
that's the
really
way mine does
easy
too.
to get in and see everything. And it's the organization, it's got lots of little straps and things, so super easy. But in all these different pockets and things. So these are like stereo strips because I watched Tup's video and I think he was doing a video with Mountain RN once and they were talking about like stereo strips and silver
Yep.
bandages and all that. So this is just like lots of bandages and antiseptic creams. This is an ACE bandage. I think it's an ACE bandage. No, this is Coban. So Coban is this stuff is. I just dropped it on the floor. It's like it looks like Band-Aid material, but it sticks to itself.
Yep.
And so you can use it to wrap up all different kinds of things. So I
Yep.
have one of those everywhere. I found these on Amazon and I've become not obsessed with them, but just enthralled with them. So a lot of times you can get like first aid kits that are ready made. And they have kind of
But
these
you built this one yourself, right?
yeah,
Pony
yeah,
Girl was asking.
yeah. So I built this one myself. But they have the elements like so you get like a fully made out emergency kit like you would have in an office building or something like that. But then they sell the refills separately. So
Yep.
in like if you have an office and you have a big medical kit, you don't have to buy another huge medical kit. You can just buy the things that go in it. And they tend to be they look like generic. So these are like this is like an eye wash. And they
Nice.
have like little eye wash cups that you can get.
Mhm.
There is in this pocket, I've got like triple this is triple antibiotic ointment or whatever. But you can buy like a box of these little individual use ones.
Mhm.
And so I find that those are really cool. And the different items that they have in those from those brands that are available make it super easy to make a kit like this because it's like, oh, okay, I don't need a whole bottle of Neosporin. I'm just going to get a box of 20 little individual ones. And I'm going to put 2 of them in every bag. And that's probably what I would need before I could get to the next medical kit.
Gotcha.
So yeah, so the eye wash I thought was really interesting. We had heard some story about somebody having an eye incident or something, and so that's why I went and I got eye wash and put in everything. I also find that that's a like reactive thing of like if you
Yep.
hear of somebody that had an incident or something, then like getting the thing and putting it in all of your kits.
Well, and that's
Um,
how we evolve our preps, right? I mean, if
oh
you
yeah,
think about it. So, yeah, it's
yeah,
great.
I mean it's yeah. So then this is just these are all different little medication things. They're all the little like you would get at a hotel out of a vending
Mhm.
machine or whatever, but it's Advil, Tums, Benadryl, Pepto Bismol, and just a couple. Because usually, if I have this kit on me, usually we're just going for a few hours. So I just need enough. I need like a dose or two per person
Yep.
to get us through until we could get home, or we can get to a store, or we could get somewhere else.
Yep.
Tourniquets. So these are always good to have in the kits. There are a couple of different versions. I don't remember which. This one's got like the little butterfly clip on it. There's also like a black plastic rod. I don't remember. There are names for these. I don't remember what the abbreviated name for it is. but one of them, I believe this one with the butterfly clip is recommended. And by recommended, I believe it's what I read on the thing. So don't quote me, go read it. But this one could work for a kid or an adult. And the black ones that have the, it's like a metal bar and you kind of like twist it and then wrap it around. Those are more designed for adults only. And so since we are, usually traveling with kids, I have the one that works for both as opposed to the one that's really recommended for adults. Little instant ice pack because you never know. Those are super handy. And then in here, I think, these are just surgical shears. So the difference, this is the difference between my good kits and my like backup kits. So in this kit, I have these kind of surgical shears. I got them on Amazon. Just having something like that, I think it's super helpful in case you have to cut off clothing or anything like that. In my like main kit, I have the Leatherman Raptors. Which are the folding scissors because they do the same thing, but they fold up. I feel like Leatherman's a really good brand. I like the fact that it has, it's got multiple different things for if you want to like open up an oxygen tank and some other stuff. They're super great. So
the ring cutter there. Right here. These are great. Here's the oxygen piece you were talking about. And the
I also love that you can get them in colors. I actually don't know if I have mine in colors or not. I don't remember. But you could get them in colors, which anytime you can kind of, we always talk about color of prepping. So like I try to make this like, okay, this is the medical kit. It's red. It should be easy to see, that sort of stuff. Yes. Raptor shears rule. I have them in my EMT bag. Mother of healers. I mean, she's got healing in her name. So, I'm going to take that as
I'd be disappointed. I'd be disappointed
if she was not good. So then this is the bag that I take with us when we are going like on vacation or driving, going camping or something like that. I think Bernie's got a similar kit. That or he really had to go to the bathroom. One or the other. He got real excited and jumped up real fast.
I'm right there with you.
Okay. Yep. Fantastic. So so this is like, I think a great size for if you're traveling or something like that. I always refer to like our house as the main headquarters. So we have literally totes of Band-Aids and medications and supplies and everything that's in each of these kits. We have like 3 or 4 or 5 of them in our house preps all around the house, in the garage, everywhere else. So the goal of these is to get us either back home or to get us to a medical place, not for this to be the sole medical supply that we would ever have. I think it's always important to label your kits. So this is the ouch pouch. And to be clear, if anyone had any, I'm a medic, kinda.
I like that.
So a couple of things with this kit. One of the first things is I attached these little Streamlight Nano flashlights onto the keychain. Part of that is so I know the bags with the lights are the ones that are the most complete, have the most stuff in them. So like if I have 3 of these, 2 of them have lights and 1 of them doesn't. And they all have the same stuff. It's just like this one has a couple of extra things that the other one doesn't have, and the other one has a couple extra things that the last one doesn't have. So if I was pulling them in order, I would do that. But then I open it up. So yours, I think, with your pockets and things, yours kind of automatically does it. I don't know if this is going to show on camera, but
no, I like it.
So part of this is, and this bag, this is a 511 bag. Most of my bags are 511. Most of my pouches are Maxpedition. These pouches I got are actually 511 makes a pouch like this that I wanted to buy, but it's way more expensive. And I got these on Amazon. Clear window so you can kind of see generally what's inside of it. And they're color coded. I don't know that I guess if you were like a medical person, and maybe this is a question for medical people, do the red, the navy, the yellow, and the green correspond to medical designations, or is it just that they picked 4 random colors? Because usually I would think of them as like red is medical and the other ones are not. But in a lot of these, they were like 4 first aid kits, but they had these colors, and I don't know what the colors, if they matter. So I didn't worry about the colors. I kind of group things together, but they're not necessarily connected to the colors. So this one, for example, is kind of ouch stuff. So I've got like the dental stuff that I used when like we had a cracked tooth. So this has the stuff to actually like fill in or create a temporary filling.
Oh, gotcha.
It's got Band-Aids, it's got Neosporin, it's got Anbesol, which is like a painkiller for your teeth. And then because this is one of the premier kits that I have, I've also got a skin stapler. So in case there's something really awful that needs to get taken care of, there's a skin stapler, and it came with the staple remover. So I keep those together in here in case we need them for any reason.
And Mother of Healers mentioned that green is oxygen related and red is trauma, like bleeding a lot related.
Okay, that is really good to know. I think I need to like adjust some of these now, because I would probably change that a little bit. This navy blue one, for the most part, this is just a bunch of different sized ace bandages. I have like short ace bandages, medium size, long, and a couple of ice packs in here. So nothing too exciting in that one. This yellow one is kind of like the sanitation kind of one, I think. Yeah, so this one has a kit. Again, this was really cool. This was from First Aid Only. So it's the company that makes the first aid kit refills. And this was actually a 5-day personal protection pack. And so it has gloves, it has hand sanitizer, it has masks, it has a disposable thermometer, it's got surface wipes. So this is kind of like if you needed, PPE, this has your PPE already in a bag, all ready to go, and you just drop it in a bag. So love that. This has the the soft tourniquet. So I think the other one's called a cat tourniquet or a C. I think it's CAT or CTA or something. And then this is the SOF. So this is the one where it's got this metal bar, and you use that to kind of crank the pressure, as opposed to the other one that uses the like butterfly clip to kind of hold it in place. So I've got one of those. The Raptors. So I've got the orange ones. My hunch is that they were either I like the orange or they were on sale, one or the other. Those of you who know me well at all know that I try not to include orange things because Oregon State is orange, and I went to University of Oregon, and I don't support bad life choices, but it is what it is. And then I've got like a bunch of like nail clippers, tweezers, thermometer, all that sort of stuff. So this is kind of a more of like a tools and equipment sort of a pouch. Mother Healer said the cat tourniquets are great. They have the windlass to tighten. Yep, exactly. Again, I'm not an expert on the tourniquets or anything like that. I just get what people tell me, and then I add them in as needed. But this one is medications and puke bags again, things I didn't know that you could get, but like once you know that you can get them on Amazon, like you totally get them. So
Yep.
these are like air sick bags. We have one of my daughter gets car sick all the time, so we just have these everywhere. But again, we put them in every kit because you never know what you might need.
Well,
Um,
and if you think about it too, that's also a container, right?
oh, exactly. Yeah,
So, I mean, like if you needed to grab water, I mean, it's clean, for the most part.
yeah,
Unless you use it and then decide to put water in it, but
yeah, exactly.
that'd be bad. That'd be a
Yeah,
bad day. But
don't do that.
yeah,
Um,
medical tip for the day:
yeah,
don't
medical
puke
tip
in a
for the day.
bag and then put water in it and drink. I think we're pretty good there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a don't thing. Also, the pulse oximeters, the ones that you put on your finger to check your pulse
Oh
and
yeah.
your oxygen and everything. So again, a thing that I didn't necessarily think of until we were in the middle of pandemic and everything, and then we've had to use it a couple of times when somebody had a cold or was having a breathing issue or something, and it was like they come in super handy. Um, a thing I'm just realizing that I didn't know, so maybe everybody else knew about this. Oh, Pony Girl. Oh, you're thinking about things, and yes, nosebleed kits. I have thoughts on this. We are going to revisit that here in a second. Um, so I actually stored the batteries for this outside of
Hmm.
the thing because I've heard like, okay, if you leave them in, they go bad, they get all corroded, it's all gross. You don't want to do that. Well, they are corroding in their own bag outside of the thing. I didn't know the batteries would do that. So
Yeah.
so I'm gonna need to change the batteries that were not included in this, just to make sure that I've got fresh batteries and not a lot of corroded yuck on that. Um, so that's kind of the pouches, and then I have like this other other kits. So this is a little kind of suture kit. So if you were trying to do like needed to do stitches of some kind or anything like that, it's got the things to be able to do that with.
Well, you'll have the
Um,
tools, and then that way you can just go, Mother of Healers here,
yeah,
suture.
exactly. Yeah, expert person.
Yeah.
This is a blood pressure cuff that I got. It's a little portable blood pressure cuff that fits in here. Um,
Now, are you traveling with that, or are you
so this we travel with if we're going somewhere like in the car. So like
for
we go
distance, right?
camping. Yeah, when we go to Bend or anything like that,
Okay,
I will throw this in the car. When we go to Seattle, I'll throw this in the car. Anywhere that we're going more than 15 or 20 minutes away from
it's fair.
away from the house where we know we're not necessarily sure where we're going. So like if we're
Okay.
going downtown, I won't take it with us because
Yeah,
it's
that's a smaller
downtown and
kit.
there's
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Um, this is a CPR mask. So if you needed to conduct CPR on somebody, but you don't want to get any sort of cross contamination, for example, you can use this. It's also, I think, got a bag thing so that you can
Hmm.
actually kind of,
You don't have to do
use
the breath,
that.
right?
Yep. Um, the SAM splint. So this is something that Tup mentioned when we were talking last week that you don't want to pack one of these necessarily in your everyday kit, but you could put it in a kit like this.
Hmm.
So one of those is great to have. Um, let's see. The trauma pack. So this is a thing that everybody should have a couple of these.
Yep.
I've got again, like I tend to like pair these up with every medical kit everywhere that I've got one. But this has the quick clot included in it. So in
Yep.
case you needed to clot a lot of blood for some reason, this has all of the stuff in it that you would need. So I would highly recommend if you don't have any of these other things, maybe make sure that you have one of these somewhere, just in case. Because while a cut with a band-aid, and not having a band-aid or something like that wouldn't be ideal. If you really need a trauma kit, not having that is going to be a whole lot worse than not having a band-aid.
Yep.
Let's see. These are the emergency trauma, the Israeli bandages.
Hmm.
So Mountain RN recommended those, and Tup has recommended those. So I have a couple of those extra in here. This is a hyphen vent entry and exit wound kit. So this kind of pairs up with the trauma kit.
Yep.
So I recommend having that sort of stuff. And then there's some stuff that I've got that's just like, okay, it's not necessarily first aid, but like an emergency blanket. You know, if somebody's hyperventilating or hypothermic or something, having something like this could be really, really beneficial. Or
And shock.
if,
For
yeah,
shock.
it's just a good thing to have. It doesn't take up a lot of space. So
And
I
they're
would,
light.
yeah. And this is the bigger version. So I have kind of like the 1-person and the
Yep.
2-person version.
And that's the SOL one, right? Is
Yeah.
that
SOL.
Yeah.
I love the SOL stuff.
Yeah. Me too.
The SOL stuff is fantastic. A little thing of Clorox wipes.
Yep.
The travel size, you can get those at like Target. So those are great. The little instant heaters, the hand and feet warmers, especially if you've got somebody who is like hypothermic or going into shock and you want to put those on them and then wrap them in a blanket to help kind of bring up their core temperature. That's a really helpful thing. More feet warmers. And then the thing that I have everywhere, and this is my favorite thing in the whole world, and I have these everywhere, but the survival medic kit from SOL. This just has like a little bit of everything. It's so small. They cost like between $12 and $15, depending on where you buy them from, I think. I always get them. They tend to go on sale every once in a while. And so I'll buy like 6 of them and then I'll give them to my friends. I have these literally all over our house and everywhere.
Does it say what's in there?
Yes, it does. So it's got an emergency blanket. It's got a firelight, fire starter, and 4 fire starter tinders that are like, they look like little wool things. And the fire starter is like a flint steel roller. So you kind of like roll it and it sparks and then sets off. It's got a whistle, a compass. It's got some duct tape. So it's got about 2 feet of duct tape. It's got survival instructions, which, you know, survival instructions are great depending on if the survival instructions they're giving you pertain to whatever the situation is that you're in.
Yep.
Or
it's a great fire starter.
Yeah, exactly. So that's like survival equipment side, and then the medical side, it's got antiseptic towelettes, ibuprofen, antibiotic ointment, some bandages, a knuckle bandage, some fabric bandages, and a safety pin. So it's just got a little bit of everything. It's only 4 ounces. It says, you know, shelter, fire, signaling, and first aid supplies. So, you know, again, like I literally have these in, I think, every bag, every car. I have these in our house. I have them in my laptop bag. I have them all over the place because they just fit everywhere. I actually have so many of these. I was thinking about, I was going through stuff and I have a bunch of stuff that I bought that, you know, I just don't have any. Like, I was like, okay, giveaway time. Like,
giveaways. Yeah.
We could totally do some killer giveaways with, you know, those sorts of first aid kits and all that sort of stuff. So we got to find a good, some sort of a good contest or giveaway or something. But so, yeah. So
I probably have some stuff that I could probably donate to that too.
Yeah, we'll come up with something. We got to come up with something.
I need you over to help me organize my bunker.
Yeah, exactly. That's fair. We can do that.
Sorry, the secret bunker.
Secret bunker.
That's now live everywhere.
We're secret preppers. Secret preppers. Secret. So a pig's fly. Which one are you talking about? The survival medic kit.
I think it was the last one we were just talking about.
Yeah. So that one, I've gotten that one at our local Fred Meyer store, which is like a grocery store for anybody who doesn't live in Portland. I've gotten them at Coastal Farm and Ranch, which is our like an agricultural store, feed store in our area. I've got them off of Amazon. I've got them at Cabela's.
REI, I believe, has them too.
Yeah.
SOL stuff.
Sometimes they don't have the survival medic. They'll have a different version. But the survival medic, I think, is the best overall combination of stuff. So I always try to find that one. And usually it just means either that store doesn't carry it or they're sold out and they'll have more. PPE. Yeah. So in there, I've got the gloves and the mask. I don't have eye protection. I did buy So in the things that we have bought but haven't put in there, I did buy. Um, I oops, there goes everything. I did buy some safety goggles for the family, a couple of different versions, as well as like work glove sort of things. So those should go into the kits as well. I agree. I really like that kind of PPE kit that I got from Amazon, just because it's got everything and you can just it's self-contained. Um, I think the caveat is the bougie prepper side of me was like, oh, I want the kits that are made up. I want the PPE kit that is made up and ordered from Amazon because it's easy. I like those colored pouches that are nylon. I think they were $12 or $15 on Amazon. They aren't expensive, or they aren't really expensive. Um, about half the price of the 511 version. But you can replicate all of that with like Ziploc bags. So it doesn't need to be nylon pouches and all that sort of stuff. But I think keeping them organized and having them vertically in the bags makes it easy, like a basically like taking books off of a shelf. Like, oh, I need this, as opposed to rummaging through and trying to find stuff underneath other things. Especially if you're in an emergency medical situation, you don't want to have to try to be like, oh wait, is it under things? Is it not in the kit? Like, okay, let me just grab that little bag of
Mhm.
stuff or that pouch. So,
And as far as goggles go, I've even done swimming goggles. Not the
oh
big
yeah.
mask, but just like the little swimming goggles. I
Did
mean,
you also have a snorkel?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It was a straw, but yeah.
yeah. So and Pony Girl, you had mentioned the nosebleed kit, so I'm gonna
Oh,
come
okay.
back to that. So it's so weird to say this, but like a year ago, my son had a blood clotting issue that popped up, and it was a allergic reaction to something. And it was the first time that we had ever seen it happen. And basically, we had to go to the hospital. We weren't like, he had to stay home from school for a week because if he was bumped, like he would just start internally bleeding. It was the weirdest thing ever. And they were
Oh
like,
wow,
it'll resolve itself in like a couple of days. And sure enough, it
interesting.
did. Um, but as a result of that, in my like, oh my goodness, what does this mean? And do we have to live with this for the rest of our lives? Um, I went and found a bunch of essentially quick clotting things to then put in our kits so that in case he ever had that issue come up again, because it's kind of it's a little bit of an offshoot from a chronic issue that he has, so it's possible that it will come back, but like we don't know. um and so there's all kinds of nosebleed kits where you can get like things to put in your nose that'll clot it. But I also got like clot spray so that if you've got a big cut like on an arm or a leg or something, you can use the spray and it will actually like help clot and coagulate the blood. They make a powder that you can pour into a wound to help clot and pack it. So I got that. Um, I didn't bring all of that stuff down. Maybe I would do that as a second, if anybody's interested, I could do it as like a secondary thing. And I will say I haven't tried any of them because luckily we didn't need them. But there are specialized products for bleeding and bleeding type issues. And so, yeah, I got a bunch of that sort of stuff. And I'm kind of making like a special kit for that that would have all of those different elements. Bandages that had special clotting agents included in them. Um, it's kind of as parents, it's like when you hear something awful about your kid and you don't know what to do about it, you like rage shop on Amazon and just try to find any solution. And that's kind of what I did. I was like, I don't know what this means, but I'm going to find everything that I can fix on Amazon and have here by overnighted tomorrow, just in case we need it. So,
We
yeah.
used to use I mean, as weird as this may sound, but tampons
Oh yeah.
for nosebleeds.
Yeah.
Um, so
Um,
and wrestling, that's what we used. And then my son, he's doing wrestling, or he just got done with the season. But yeah, with their nosebleeds, that's what they used.
yeah. Mother Healer said no powders. Bad and hard to clean
It's
out
just
later.
hard to clean
That
up.
is,
And
yep.
and correct me if I'm wrong, uh, for any of the experts out there. I know that some of the quick clot have issues with sweat or chemical, creating some sort of chemical burn. Um, I know that that was an issue in the past. I don't know if I think that's been resolved now, but I'm not 100%.
That would be a
So,
good thing to look into. Yeah, she said the gauze infused with anticoagulant. Yes, I've got some of that stuff. That stuff was highly recommended. Also, Chuck said that the clotting spray works. That's really good because I have some of that too.
mm,
I was
yeah.
like, anti bleeding or anti clotting or something like that is what I searched in Amazon, and then it was like everything that came up if it looked different, if a different form factor than the other thing, I was like, add to cart, add to cart, add to cart, add to cart, add to cart. Okay. Because I was like, I don't know which of these we're gonna need, but like I just feel like we don't have any of these things should we need them. And luckily we didn't need them, but now we've got them, and so that
Huh,
kind of is a thing where it's like, okay, we just add that now um, as an adjunct thing. So
that spray sounds intriguing to me. I may try that. I may look into that. Try that out.
yeah, that's
I
one
don't
of the
have.
things too. I'm doing is um, I've got one of those like Amazon was like the Amazon storefront things because I kept trying to put
Oh,
it on like the website of like, hey, here are the things that I've got because people are always like, what do you have in your first aid kit and what do you have in this? And I'm like, oh, well, I got all this stuff on Amazon and like,
oh,
but you had to like take the codes and put them on the website. And now you can just like add them to a storefront and then it's like, oh, here's my first aid kit thing and here's my so I'll see if I can add that
okay.
into somewhere for people so it's easy to see.
And you have an Amazon link, like an affiliate link that we can click
Yeah.
on?
Yeah,
Good.
I think it's down. I think it's down below somewhere. I don't know if I've actually put the storefront link up there. I was playing around with that, but yeah, you go to the website
I think it'd be good.
cascadiadispatch.com and there's links to products and different
Oh,
things there.
perfect.
And yes, they are affiliate links for the FTC that's watching. They're affiliate links, yes. Um, but but anyway, you just feel free to. It doesn't change the price for anything, and
Nope.
feel free to use them or just to look at the thing and then use your own affiliate link if you would like to. That's totally fine with me. Oh, Mother of Healers. I was just about to sign off. Mother of Healers. They did cause burns, especially the granule powder versions. Not too bad now. Beats bleeding profusely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
exactly. Yeah, I think that's
Bleed
also
out
one of the
or chemical burn? I'll take the chemical burn over bleed out any day of the week.
yeah, exactly. That's the other thing with the like the powder. It's like okay, it's hard to clean out, but like if it's that or bleeding out, like okay, I guess like if we have a choice, we'll use the spray and everything else. But like, okay, if plan D is the powder or nothing, like okay, then I guess we use the powder and go from
Plan
there.
D it is.
Plan D it is. All right, everybody. Well,
Right.
thanks for joining. I like this has been fantastic,
Yeah.
Bernie. I've loved having you on
Thanks.
here. It's been a
Oh,
while since
thanks.
we chatted
It
and you
has
were
been a minute.
been part of it. So
Thank
I'm
you.
glad you could join.
Yeah.
And hopefully over the next couple of months we'll do more of these sorts of a thing. And
Yeah.
everybody have a wonderful time. Again, leave your comments down below if there are uh if you're watching the replay, if you're listening to the podcast, let us know if there are kind of one-off areas of focus that you would like us to try to find somebody to speak as a bit of a more of an expert than we are. Would love to do that. And also, if you have ideas for prepping high school, prepping grade school, prepping classes, you know, we were talking about what would the curriculum be if we had a prepping high school. You know, leave your suggestions down below, and then we're gonna talk about it probably in the next episode when everybody's back. So thanks again, everyone. I appreciate it. Thank you, Bernie, for joining. And
Thank you for having me.
we'll see y'all next week. Bye bye.